Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're doing something a little different. We're going to dive into the massive impact of cancer support organizations. But, instead of just looking at staggering statistics and financial reports, we're really going to understand this whole ecosystem through the deeply personal lens of the survivors who actually lived it. We're taking all that abstract data and giving it a real human heartbeat. Because when you look at it from their perspective, abstract data instantly becomes a literal matter of life and death. Take women like Frances, for example. The National Breast Cancer Foundation offers a free national mammogram program. And for Frances, that wasn't just some line item on a charity's budget. It was literally the exact intervention that saved her life. It's really the ultimate proof of why these resources exist in the first place. So let's start at the beginning, facing the diagnosis and really the sheer suddenness of that life-changing moment. When that moment hits, organizations like Living Beyond Breast Cancer step in to map out a clear roadmap for the survivor's path. And we're not just talking about a medical timeline here. It's very much a psychological one, too. You move from day one of being recently diagnosed, right into the thick of treatment, then through post-active treatment, and finally into survivorship. It gives a sense of order to what honestly feels like absolute chaos, showing patients that there is a defined path forward. I mean, put yourself in Angel Rinker's shoes for just a second. Imagine finding out you have triple-negative breast cancer. Your immediate burden isn't just medical, right? It's intensely personal. It's emotional. For Angel, the most pressing challenge right off the bat was figuring out how on earth to explain this terrifying news to her 5 very unique kids. Parenting through cancer it's a profound, heavy reality that millions of people face every day. And, this is exactly where that macro-level support kicks in. When you're completely reeling from the news and you just don't have the answers, an entire army of resources is basically mobilized to catch you. These immediate safety nets are absolutely crucial. You've got the American Cancer Society's 24/7 helpline ready for you in the middle of the night. You've got the National Breast Cancer Foundation providing patient navigators to help guide your medical decisions, plus their hope kits for some tangible comfort. It's an entire infrastructure built to ensure literally no one falls through the cracks. Which brings us to our next phase, building a network of support and finding your people when you need them the most. Looking at Vanessa's experience here, her words perfectly capture why isolation is one of the absolute toughest, yet somehow least talked about, side effects of cancer. She really reminds us why shared experience just works wonders. There is a very specific kind of peace that only comes from looking across a room or even across a screen and seeing someone who is walking through the world carrying the exact same heavy burden that you are. So, to solve this isolation problem, organizations like breastcancer.org don't just toss you into one massive generic support group. Instead, they create highly tailored virtual groups so you can find the exact people who truly understand your specific battle. Like, if you're younger with metastatic breast cancer, there's a group just for you. If you're the partner of someone with stage 4 cancer, there's a space specifically for your struggles. It is essentially precision emotional support. Now let's shift gears a bit. Navigating treatment together and actually solving the practical hurdles of care. Just imagine fighting for your life. Your body is completely exhausted from chemo or radiation, and yet your biggest daily stress is simply figuring out how to afford a 2-hour drive to the hospital or trying to find a safe place to sleep once you actually get there. It's crazy, but these totally practical hurdles can literally prevent patients from getting the life-saving care they desperately need. Well, take a look at this number, over 950,000. That is the number of free rides to treatment provided in 2024 alone by the American Cancer Society's Road to Recovery program. I mean, think about that scale. That's nearly 1 million times a volunteer stepped up and said, "Hey, don't worry, I will get you there." And they back that right up with over 500,000 free nights of lodging at their Hope Lodge facilities across the country. It's just a perfect example of an organization directly answering a very basic, very human problem with a massive operational solution. They're entirely removing that financial anxiety of travel right off the patient's shoulders. Okay, moving forward to the power of research, transforming trials into triumphs. Christina Ju's story is such a beautiful reminder that patients aren't just these passive recipients of care. They're incredibly active, brave participants in actually finding the cure. When faced with a metastatic diagnosis, she left her career in tech and found a profound new meaning by saying yes to clinical trials. Her courage is literally fueling tomorrow's breakthroughs.
And you can see how this creates this really powerful pipeline of hope. It starts with massive funding, like the $5.6 billion invested in research by the American Cancer Society since 1946. That money funds discovery science, which then flows right into clinical trials with heroes like Christina, and ultimately results in new, targeted treatments that become the new standard of care for everyone. And because of that exact research pipeline, along with a relentless push for early detection, the National Breast Cancer Foundation reports a 44% decline in breast cancer death rates since 1989. Let that sink in for a second. 44%. That represents millions of mothers, sisters, and friends who are literally still here with us today because the science actually worked. We can really see the real-world impact of the scientific leap when we look at Clara Hartfield's story. In the past, cancer was often just this huge generational unknown. But Clara's diagnosis led to genetic testing, which uncovered a hereditary ATM mutation. And what that means is her adult daughter is no longer left in the dark. She now has the precision knowledge she needs to proactively manage her own risk. This is literally science breaking generational cycles of fear. Finally, let's talk about the goal everyone fights for: embracing survivorship and living beyond the diagnosis. Because healing is a journey, and it really has no final destination. Whether it's through getting incredibly realistic 3D nipple tattoos to reclaim one's body and redefine surgical scars into actual art, or just simply living with profound joy amidst a stage 4 cancer diagnosis like Julie Rock does, survivorship is deeply, fiercely personal. It is a continuous, daily journey of rebuilding stability in the wake of chaos. And it's amazing to see that this commitment to the survivor's well-being is systemic across top-tier organizations. Just look at Living Beyond Breast Cancer. 83 cents of every single dollar donated to them goes directly into vital educational and support services. It is an absolutely overwhelming investment in both the human spirit and practical care. So I want to leave you with this thought to wrap up our explainer today. With over 140 million lives touched by the American Cancer Society alone in 2024, the infrastructure of hope is clearly there, and it's operating at a massive scale. But, it relies on all of us, through awareness, advocacy, and donations, to keep the whole thing going. So the question is, what role will you play in helping to write the next survivor story?